All right, we look live. We're looking. We're looking live. Okay, cool. Rocking. What's going on right now? Welcome in. Ooh. Send out some more texts. Yo, tell your friends. This is where you need to be. Oh man, what am I gonna eat after this? That's another question. I feel like that's always my question. It's like, what am I about to eat? What am I gonna eat? When am I gonna eat? When? That's what my belly's saying right now. If I like put my mic down here, it's like, feed me. I'm not a good ventriloquist. Feed me. Yeah, crazy, huh? You're doing something right if you're doing something socially weird, I feel like, right? If you want to be the anomaly, you have to act like an anomaly. Let's take this dab. And then we're going to get right into it. Cheers, y'all. Like my stream deck would be beautiful if I had all this stuff set up. Maybe that's what I'll do tomorrow. Sounds like a smart idea. I say that every time I stream, I think. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. It's never tomorrow. Fun fact, in case you didn't know. It is never tomorrow. It's always today. Basically, the way I kind of like envisioned doing it is just stopping as he's talking and then kind of just going from there and seeing like what I'm or what as he's talking, thinking of my thoughts and stuff. And I'm actually gonna let's see. I think this will be a mindful exercise to do on stream as well. Well, no, I'm not gonna do it on the computer. Do I want to do it on the computer so you guys can read it? Yeah, maybe, right? All right, let's hop to it.
I wonder what you mean when you use the word I. I've been very interested in this problem for a long, long time, and I've come to the conclusion that what most civilized...
Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna preface this. I haven't listened to any of this. I mean, I have listened to his voice and parts of his talk, so like I do know like the style or like what he's going for and like kind of like certain parts of like maybe of his talks, but like I haven't like listened to. I just bought this today, so I'm really excited. So yeah, this is from the Tao of Philosophy, or the Tao of Philosophy, excuse me. Alan Watts. It's not what should be, and it's the first track on that. So, what's the first thing he said? He's like, I want to. So let's go back. Sorry.
I've been very interested in this. I wonder what you mean when you use the word I. I've been very interested in this problem for a long, long time, and I've come to the conclusion that what most civilized people mean by that word is a hallucination.
A hallucination?
That is to say, a false sense of personal identity.
Right.
That is at complete variance with the facts of nature.
So like he's basically like kind of talking about like what I've some of the stuff I've been reading, and just the fact that you are your being doesn't mean that you have to associate with like the way that you feel or the way that you think, and even the way that like you are as your body, like, you know what I mean? You don't have to associate with that. So that's I think that's what he's going for.
And as a result of having a false sense of identity, we act in a way that is inappropriate to our natural environment. And when that inappropriate way of action is magnified by a very powerful technology, we swiftly begin to see the results of a profound discord between man and nature. As is well known, we are now in the process of destroying our environment as a result of an attempt to conquer it and master it.
And it's crazy because like these talks are like from years ago. I mean, I'm talking like probably at least what I mean, we're already in 2021. That's so crazy. So, I mean, probably bare minimum 50 years ago, if not longer, probably longer. I'm thinking like I let's see. Let's see. Tao 1973. Okay, so yeah, about 50 years ago. That's when the book came out, so.
And we have not realized, therefore, that our environment is not something other than ourselves. In assuming that it is, we have made a great mistake and are now paying the price for it. But most people would agree with the lines of the poet who said, "I, a stranger and afraid, in a world I never made." Because we have the strong sensation that our own being inside our skin is extremely different from the world outside our skin. That while there may be intelligence inside human skins, and while there may be values and loving feelings, outside the skin is a world of mechanical process which does not give a damn about any individual and which is basically unintelligent.
It's something to think about, like, and I know it's a really good grounding technique, but just to think of like how irrelevant you are in like the whole existence of everything, like realistically, like when you sit there and you think about like how like we're in this freaking galaxy, right? In this infinite amount of space that like all these stars, right? Like these stars that okay, let's just back this up. Let's back this up. Like we're already too far zoomed out. We're already, you know what I mean? So I'm looking at myself. I'm like freaking zoomed in, super microscopic, super like, you know, in my brain, right? And then we're zooming out. We're on Google Maps, right? Just to start with, right? We're on freaking Google Maps Street View. Boom. You're like looking at my house. You're like, oh, that's where he's at. That's, you know, it's kind of nice house, normal house, pretty normal house. You know what I mean? But you zoom out, and you're like, oh, okay, like the neighborhood. Like, oh, okay, yeah, like that. That's a pretty cool neighborhood. Like Brian, he's doing it. You know what I mean? And then you zoom out, and you're like, wow, like look at all these other houses. Like, look at how like, you know, less relevant you are as you're going up. Like, and then all of a sudden you're in like Arizona and you're like, dude, that was just one dude in Arizona. Like how irrelevant are you in like the 7 million people, well, in Phoenix, and 7 million people in Phoenix, let alone Arizona. I don't even know how many people are in Arizona, but my point being millions and millions of people as you keep going up and up and up. And then you got billions on the world or whatever, right? 8 billion people. I don't fucking know. How many people are on the world now? Yeah. 8 billion people. Almost. And I'm one. I am one, though. That's dope. That's a dope feeling in a way, but also how irrelevant is 8 billion people on one Earth? We have one Earth right now that we know of, right? Or I don't know if you guys know about more than I do, but I don't. I only know one Earth, right? And 8 billion people there, how irrelevant I am. And then Mars, and Jupiter and Saturn and Venus and all these planets, right? In theory, like we don't know, right? But and then just our galaxy, just like what's going on with our sun and all the other stars. It's like, dude, that's so fucking crazy. How irrelevant are you? How irrelevant are you?
Being gyrations of blind force, and so far as the merely biological world is concerned, gyrations of libido, which is Freud's word for blind lust. It should be obvious that the human being goes with the rest of the universe. Even though we say in popular speech, I came into this world. Now, it is not true that you came into this world.
Right.
You came out of it. In the same way as
Yeah.
a flower comes out of a plant or a fruit comes out of a tree.
I was fucking made.
And
You were
as an
made.
apple tree apples, the solar system in which we live, and therefore the galaxy in which we live, and therefore the system of galaxies in which we live, that system peoples. And therefore people are an expression of its energy and of its nature. If people are intelligent, and I suppose we have to grant that if, then the energy which people express must also be intelligent, because one does not gather figs from thistles and grapes from thorns. But it does not occur, you see, to the ordinary civilized person to regard himself or herself as an expression of the whole universe. It should be obvious that we cannot exist except in an environment of earth, air, water, and solar temperature, that all these things go with us and are as important to us, albeit outside our skins, as our internal organs, heart, stomach, brain, and so forth.
So, what I've been learning in yoga, the past, I would say, I think we started like, well, I don't remember exactly, but I don't remember exactly when I was learning it. But what I've been learning about is, let's see, let's pop this open too. Prakriti. It's like the inner sense, the inner. I'm not the one to definitely describe it the best, but it's where how. Okay, what it says is the prime material energy of which all matter is composed. It's what is. It's what. It's always there, right? And then, but with Prakriti, you have, see, and it's crazy that I just clicked, you have Purusha as well. And Purusha is the concept of like, let's see. The spirit. Okay, I'm sorry. I was saying it wrong. Yeah, and if you guys want to correct me if I'm wrong as well, let me know. I'm trying my best to as well. But basically, okay, so Purusha, okay, so Prakriti is everything. Everything that you like is like the material. It's like it's the body, the thoughts, right? And then Purusha is the spirit, the thing that like gives everything life. Not that like the mouse has as much life as I do, but it does have life. It has Purusha. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain, and I'm not like, again, like, you know, the one and only, the best person to explain it, but that's what I've been learning. So that's kind of what he's talking about, I think.
Now, if then we cannot describe the behavior of organisms without at the same time describing the behavior of their environments, we should realize that we have a new entity of description. Not the individual organism alone, but what would now be called a field of behavior, which we must call rather clumsily the organism environment. You go with your environment in the same way as your head goes with the rest of your body. You do not find in nature faces arriving in the world sui generis. They go with a body. But also bodies do not arrive in a world which would be, for example, a plain ball of scrubbed rock floating without an atmosphere far away from a star. That will not grow bodies. There is no soil for bodies. There is no complexity of environment which is body producing. So bodies go with a very complicated natural environment. And if the head goes with the body and the body goes with the environment, the body is as much an integral part of the environment as the head is part of the body. It is deceptive, of course, because the human being is not rooted to the ground like a tree. Right. A human being moves about and therefore can shift from one environment to another. But these shifts are superficial. The basic environment of the planet remains a constant. And if the human being leaves the planet, he has to take with him a canned version of the planetary environment. Now, we are not really aware of this. Upon taking thought and due consideration, it does occur to us, yes, indeed, we do need that environment. But in the ordinary way, we don't feel it. That is to say, we don't have a vivid sensation of belonging to our environment in the same way that we have a vivid sensation of being an ego inside a bag of skin, located mostly in the skull, about halfway between the ears and a little way behind the eyes.
So, I mean, okay, so I think I'm kind of getting like pulled different ways. Well, not pulled different ways, but I'm trying to understand, and I think he's saying like of how I was saying like how irrelevant I am. Even though I'm irrelevant, I'm not irrelevant because of the fact that I'm part of an environment. Because I exist, I'm part of this whole thing.
And it issues in these disastrous results of the ego, which, according to 19th century common sense, feels that it is a fluke in nature, and that if it does not fight nature, it will not be able to maintain its status as intelligent fluke. So the geneticists are now saying, and many others are now saying, that man must take the course of his evolution into his own hands. He can no longer trust the wiggly, random, and unintelligible processes of nature to develop him any further, but he must interfere with his own intelligence and through genetic alterations breed.
What's up with that? I mean, I just kind of cut it off really early, but like, what is up with that? Like, why are we,
the kind of people who will be viable?
Why are we trying to do that? Why are we trying to make people who, like, you know what I mean? Whoever you're supposed to be, you're supposed to be. You know what I mean? I'm supposed to be me. He is talking about self-improvement, but like, why? I mean, like, he's talking about like not genetically modifying, but like trying to find like these things that, like, you know, are, you know, supposed to like not improve you, but he's trying to find these, or he's saying that people are trying to always find these things, right? The next thing that's supposed to help you, and you're supposed to be like courageous. Well, be courageous then. There's nothing to do with like It's not a gene. You know what I mean? Just do it.
For human society.
But
and that sort of thing.
People are people.
Now this, I submit, is a ghastly error.
Of just being it. You are.
Because
you are who
human
you are.
intelligence
You know what I mean?
has a very serious limitation. That limitation is that it is a scanning system of conscious attention which is linear in the same way as your head.
I freaking... Oh, man.
To us, yes, indeed, we do need that environment. But in the ordinary way, as intelligent fluke, be viable for human society. And that sort of thing.
All right. My bad.
Now this, I submit, is a ghastly error. Because human intelligence has a very serious limitation. That limitation is that it is a scanning system of conscious attention which is linear. That is to say, it examines the world in lines, rather as you would pass the beam of a flashlight across a room or a spotlight.
Sure.
That's why our education takes so long.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy. I mean, he's not wrong. So, like, what he's talking about is basically the fact that, like, everything exists when you're thinking about it. Like, when you think about a mouse, again, I'm talking about the mouse again, but it's a thought that passes through your head. When you're concentrating on it, it's existing. It's existing to you, at least. You know what I mean? And that's the only thing that you can tell for sure is that it's existing. You know what I mean? I'm concentrating on it like that. It's like a spotlight. That's how, like, our brain works. You know what I mean? But, like, if I mean, I think that's how I'm thinking it's work. But, like, if you could imagine, like, I can feel what's around me. I have this level of consciousness that I know what's, like, going on. You know what I mean? I know my mouse is right to the right. My brain can go boom, boom. I could be over here, and I could just grab my mouse. I know where it's at. You know what I mean? I have this level of conscious feeling. Even though, but, like, I'm still spotlighting the mouse. You know what I mean? It's still spotlighted in my brain, and I can do that. But my, like, the amount of other things that are going on in the world, or like in your world, in the space of consciousness, is so much. You're, like, projecting this energy. You're taking in energy. You're thinking about, like, this. You're thinking that, like, oh crap, I'm cold. Oh crap, I'm hot. I'm not feeling good. My stomach hurts. Da 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 da. I'm, late on my taxes. I haven't gotten paid in forever, or, like, does John like me, or does, Cindy think that I'm a bitch, or, whatever, you know what I mean? All these things are thinking. You're constantly just going in your head and head and head, but you're only spotlighting one. So yoga tells you to focus on your breath. That's where you spotlight. And that's what I've been trying to work on, you know what I mean? Directing your breath and noticing where it's at is really powerful. It's about, like, one of the only things that you can control. And you can't even really, like, I mean, you can control it, but, like, I don't know. Maybe you can. Maybe you can just stop breathing. I don't know. I don't know if you can do that, but I've never tried. But anyway, that's really powerful. So let's continue on.
It takes so long because we have to scan miles of lines of print. And we regard that, you see, as basic information. Now, the universe does not come at us in lines. It comes at us in a multidimensional continuum in which everything is happening all together everywhere at once. And it comes at us much too quickly to be translated into lines of print or of other information, however fast they may be scanned. And that is our limitation so far as the intellectual life and the scientific life is concerned.
So I mean, like, I think basically he's saying that it's like limiting that we can only spotlight. You know what I mean? Because imagine this, right? Octopi, they have 9 brains, I think. There's like what squid do or something like that. There's one of these things, or they all do, but they have 9 brains because each one of the brains controls each one of the tentacles, and then the 9th brain is like the freaking one that controls it. Like, I said this in one of my videos. I think that, all of our, fingers are like little brains and stuff like that. But we do only have one brain. It's like a fact. But imagine if you had 9 brains to work on stuff.
The computer will greatly speed up linear scanning. But it's still linear scanning. And so long as we are stuck with that form of wisdom, we cannot deal with more than a few variables at once. Now, what do I mean by that? What is a variable? A variable...
All right, sorry. I'm just going to say this. Normalize eating on stream. I haven't eaten today, so this is like one of the first things I'm eating, but let's continue on, sorry.
Is any one linear process. Let's take music. When you play a Bach fugue, and there are 4 parts to it, you have 4 variables. You have 4 moving lines, and you can take care of that with 2 hands. An organist using 2 feet can put in 2 more variables and have 6 going. And you may realize, if you've ever tried to play the organ, that it's quite difficult.
Yeah, I always kind of feel weird too, but it's like social eating. I feel like if we went out to dinner, it's like fucking going out to dinner with me at my desk. But yeah, I know what you mean though. I do.
To make 6 independent motions go at once. The average person cannot do that without training. The average person cannot deal with more than 3 variables at once without using a pencil. Now, when we study physics, we are dealing with processes in which there are millions of variables. This, however, we handle by statistics, in the same way as insurance companies use actuarial tables to predict when most people will die. If the average age of death is 65, however, this prediction does not apply to any given individual. Any given individual will live to plus or minus 65 years. And the range of difference may be very wide indeed, of course. But this is all right. The 65 guess is all right when you're doing large-scale gambling. And that's the way the physicist works in predicting the behavior of nuclear wavicles. But the practical problems of human life deal with variables in the hundreds of thousands. Here, statistical methods are very poor, and thinking it out by linear consideration is impossible. With that equipment, then, we are proposing to interfere with our genes. And with that equipment also, be it said, we are trying to solve our political, economic, and social problems. And naturally, everybody has the sense of total frustration. And the individual feels, what on earth can I do? We do not seem to know a way of calling upon our brains, because our brains can handle an enormous number of variables that are not accessible to the process of conscious attention. Your brain is now handling
Right.
or your total nervous system, to be more accurate,
Right.
your blood chemistry,
It's crazy.
the secretions from your glands, the behavior of millions of cells.
That's nuts, right? That's what I'm talking about.
It is doing all that without thinking about it.
That's what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about like your brain, or like you have little brains in your fingers, like you can literally feel like all this stuff because there's this whole like freaking advanced process that's going on in your brain. It's nuts.
That is to say, without translating the processes it is handling into consciously reviewed words, symbols,
Yeah.
or numbers.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. And your brain's just like, yeah, this is what an A is. This is what a B is. This is what the color green is. Dude, it's nuts. It's freaking nuts. Like it's literally like I say a miracle, but like how do you I don't know how you describe it. It just knows.
when I use the word...
I mean, granted, like you learn these names and things and stuff, but like, yeah, it's super crazy. It's just like, you know what I mean? Your brain is.
thinking.
But again, it goes back to what your brain is calculating. It's like, if I'm staring at this computer screen, not only am I looking at a computer screen, and my brain is telling me that it's a computer screen, but it's also telling me that there's colors on there. And it's telling me that there's colors of green and blue and black and red and pink and all these different colors. And it's telling me all these different, it's all these things. It's telling me right now as I just look at it. And then it's also telling me little symbols. What this little apex symbol means. What the Streamlabs symbol means. Like it has all these colors and these like weird like lines and stuff. And then it's like, oh, I associate you with this, with also words. Streamlabs. It's in my head. I can see it. I can visualize it. It's there. I can see the name. I can see the logo. I can see what it is. I can see this advanced, I can pull all this like memory and like these, like, what is Streamlabs? This is what Streamlabs is. It's all in my brain right now. Boom. So advanced. Faster. It could pull it up faster than my computer. Yeah, exactly. Without even thinking through it. Without even like going through the process of getting to like, I can tell you, I can show you. I could even pull up a video on YouTube and show you in like 10 minutes of what Streamlabs is. You know what I mean? But my brain can tell me what Streamlabs is just like this. What is Streamlabs? Boom. I already know. Boom. I already have an idea. What is Streamlabs? I can tell you. I can describe it to you. And I can give you what I can do with it. And like what I'm going to do with it. Now my brain's already thinking like, hey, what are you going to do with Streamlabs later? What are you doing with Streamlabs right now? I don't know. You know what I mean? Crazy. Advanced. Crazy advanced. And evolutionarily advanced. I mean, in theory, right? We've been just continuously getting smarter. I mean, advanced. Like we've all just continued to like, retaining information and memories and just processing it for the future. Exactly. That's what our brain does. That is the best thing our brain does. Retaining information and memories and just processing it for the future or not. And that is what a lot of things will invite you to do is the. I mean, okay, well, there's a thing that you have. You're processing the information. It's good to remember certain information, like don't put your hand on a hot stove. Very, very good information. If you didn't know that, PSA: don't put your hand on a hot stove. Please do not. But. That's good information. You don't have to remember everything, and your brain doesn't even remember everything. It just remembers the things that it wants to remember. Like, obviously, don't put your hand on a hot stove. Your brain will remember that because it does not want to get hurt. Don't do it. But also letting these feelings and emotions go is a great technique. Retaining that hate retaining the feeling of like I dislike this, I guess more hate or fear. Fear is the big one, which hate is derived from fear. But letting go of fear is great for your psyche and for your soul or yourself, like, you know, the self or your Atman. There's a lot of different ways that, you know, they would, different cultures would describe it. We'll probably get into that at a different point. But my point being, letting go of fear and not holding on to those for processing in the future really opens you. And that's what I've been learning. So that's where we're at right now.
I mean precisely that process. Translating what is going on in nature into words, symbols, or numbers. Of course, both words and numbers are kinds of symbols. Symbols bear the same relation to the real world that money bears to wealth. You cannot quench anybody's thirst with the word water, just as you cannot eat a dollar bill and derive nutrition from it. But using symbols and using conscious intelligence, scanning, has proved very useful to us. It has given us such technology as we have. But at the same time, it has proved too much of a good thing. At the same time, we've become so fascinated with it that we confuse the world as it is with the world as it is thought about, talked about, and figured about. That is to say, with the world as it is described. And the difference between these two is vast.
Quick side note, quick think about what he's talking about. It's really mind blowing, really mind opening to think about the fact that you are the world that you describe. You are the world that you talk about and live in and feel. I think I don't remember if I've said this in a video yet. Waking up and looking in the mirror and saying like, hey, you look good today, or hey, I like your smile, or hey, good job on getting up out of bed. I don't like, it sounds silly, but like whatever the case, like I was saying that at some point, and in my life, like, you know what I mean? I don't remember when exactly, but it's evolved into something more now where I look at myself and I say to myself like, hey, I like your videos. Like that's like a really hard one for me to like to swallow, even though I do like them. It's like hard for me to like honestly say that to myself. But that's where I'm at now. And it's like, it sounds silly to start by doing stuff like that, but if you're not doing that stuff, like I said this, I know for sure, if you're not, your actions today mean so much more. It's exponentially more for the future. So just think of the future and what world do you want to live in? Affirmations. Yeah, affirmations are great. I just love them so much. And I just think about like, what future do you want, or what world do you want to, easier said than done? Yeah, I totally agree. But start with something small. You know what I mean? Once you start with something small, you can build to bigger things. And that's what the best thing is like, even the small ones work. They do. I'm telling you, like, I've been in dark places. Yeah. It's good to do at some points though.
And when we are not aware of ourselves, except in a symbolic way, we are not related to ourselves at all. We're like people eating menus instead of dinners. And that's why we all feel psychologically frustrated.
If we were relating...
So then we get back to the question of what do we mean by I?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, obviously, we mean our symbol of ourselves.
My being.
Now, ourselves, in this case, is the
Or
whole
not my being, my
psychophysical organism, conscious and unconscious, plus its environment.
Right.
That's your real self. Your real self, in other words, is the universe as centered on your organism. That's you.
Crazy.
You say, let me just clarify that a little for one reason. What you do is also a doing of your environment. Your behavior is its behavior as much as its behavior is your behavior. It's mutual. We could say it is transactional. You are not a puppet which your environment pushes around, nor is the environment a puppet which you push around. They go together. They act together. In the same way, for example, if I have a wheel, one side of it going down is the same as the other side of it going up. When you handle the steering wheel of a car, are you pulling it or are you pushing it? No, you're doing both, aren't you? When you pull it down this side, you are pushing it up that side. It's all one. So there's a push-pull between organism and environment. We are only rarely aware of this as when in curious alterations of consciousness.
It is all one. Everything is yin and yang and push and pull and up and down. You can't have one without the other. You can't have a great life without death. You know what I mean? You're not, living, push and pull. That's why the moon is so crazy. That's why I talk about the moon, because the moon, it develops waves because the gravity and stuff. And you're getting into some crazy stuff right now. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's like, it's fucking sweet. Like, the moon is so cool. It's like, why? Why? I mean, there's gotta be things that just like, it's fucking amazing. I don't know. Let's listen to more.
Which we call mystical experience, cosmic consciousness. An individual gets the feeling that everything that is happening is his own doing, or the opposite of that feeling, that he isn't doing anything, but that all his doings, his decisions and so forth, are happenings of nature.
And just know that
you
it's
can
both.
feel it either way. You can describe it in these two completely opposite ways.
You've ever had that like have that happen where you're I mean, I know it's like there's things that do happen, like you can put it out there and like things are just like you're just like, oh man, like I'm waiting on that promotion, and then like within a week, you know, you're like, boom, you get the promotion. You're like, I knew that promotion was coming, and you pretty much like brought it out. And there's also the other side of it too. It's like, I know that, you know, you're feeling bad, or, you know, you feel fearful, like I was talking about earlier, like feeling like you don't want to jump off that cliff.
But you're talking about the same experience. You're talking about experiencing your own activity and the activity of nature as one single process. And you can describe it as if you were omnipotent like God, or as if it were completely deterministic and you hardly existed at all. But remember, both points of view are right. And we'll see where that gets us.
Both of them.
But we don't feel that, do we, ordinarily? What we feel instead is an identification of ourselves with our idea of ourselves, or I would rather say with our image of ourselves. And that's the person, or the ego.
Calling yourself fat will make you more fat. Because you're not fat. You're just who you are. And you can be also whoever you want to be. If you want to change your body, you change your body. But by negatively commenting about yourself, you're only producing more. It's like when you subtract more from a negative, you're just going down. Right? No. Yeah. Yeah. I think so. I don't know. Now the dab's kind of kicking in an hour later. No, I'm just kidding. But yes, right. Yeah, double negatives. Not the negative numbers. Yeah. Well, negative things and negative numbers and negative, more negatives. As silly as it sounds, again, it's like, adding a little bit of positivity, just a little bit. It adds more positivity. Can't say that it hurts, you know what I mean? Adding more negativity just puts you more down. And that's why I think with drugs and alcohol, the big thing with, serotonin and dopamine and stuff like that is where your normal level is. Here, when you're doing it and you're getting super high, you get that crash. But then as time goes on, you're getting back to the center. And then you're going down. And then you're not getting back to the center. And then you're going down. You know what I mean? You're basically so far down that you're never getting back to the center because you've added so much negativity, or you've lost so much serotonin. You're not producing anymore, and you're not getting enough. You're not adding enough positivity to get back to the normal. So little positivity goes a long way. I mean, and that's to say too with, just like seeing somebody that needs a little bit of help and saying, hey, like, you look good today, or like, I like your smile, or whatever. You don't know that, the little positive, maybe that was the 0.2 positivity to get up to the neutral, and now the next positive thing is above neutral for them. You don't know. So
you play a role. You identify with that role. I play a role. It's called Alan Watts. And I know very well that that's a big act.
Yeah.
I can play some other roles besides Alan Watts if necessary. But I find this one is better for making a living. But I assure you it's a mask, and I don't take it seriously.
Right. Sure.
The idea of my being a kind of messiah or guru or savior of the world just breaks me up. Because I know me. So it's very difficult to be holy in the ordinary sense.
I feel like he's not lying, though. I feel like he's really
So
not.
I know
like,
I'm
he's
not
like,
that.
He is
But
really trying.
most of us are taught to think that we are whom we are called. And when you're a little child and you begin to learn a role, and your parents and your peers approve of your being that, they know who you are. You're predictable. So you can be controlled.
Right.
But when you act out of role and you imitate some other child's behavior, everybody points the finger and says, you're not being true to yourself. Johnny, that's not you, that's Peter. And so you learn to stay Peter.
That's crazy,
Or to stay
right?
Johnny.
That's super crazy. Let's just pause that. That is super crazy. I've never heard anybody ever explain it like that. I've never heard anybody ever explain it like that. But that is like literally one of my favorite things I've ever heard. I think I'm going to rewind that just a touch. That's so crazy. I love that. I absolutely love that. Like, because, and this goes back, we're going to listen to it in just a second, just 1 second, where this goes back to being fearful. I don't like, yeah, Yeah, to how you behave and act. But think about this. Think about this. Okay, well, see, we're thinking about two different things, but like they are the same thing. But I'm thinking about like how, and it just goes back to being. I think that you got to let this fearful part of you go. But when people are like, oh, you're acting like me, or why don't you act more like yourself, or you like this because I like this, or this, that, and the other. You don't know for sure. But also, you're a product of your environment that you're being built up in. You know what I mean? Let's listen to this again.
Learn a role, and your parents and your peers approve of your being that. They know who you are. You're predictable, so you can be controlled. But when you act out of role and you imitate some other child's behavior, everybody points the finger and says, you're not being true to yourself. Johnny, that's not you, that's Peter.
Ryan, you're not a vlogger. You're not a vlogger. You don't vlog. You don't stream. You don't do that. What do you mean? As long as I turn it on, as long as I'm doing it, that's who I am. You can't do it. What do you mean? That's not who you are. Ryan, you know what I mean? You're known for being this, and then like, a year later, 10 years later, it's like, boom, who are you now? Like, whoa, you're not even the same person, or you are the same person. I don't know. Does it matter? Not really. It matters only if you're being true to yourself.
And so you learn to stay Peter, or to stay Johnny. But of course, you're not either.
Yeah.
Because this is just the image of you. It's as much...
And this is the whole other thing, too. You say evolving. But this book that I just read, one chapter away from finishing. I'm going to put it in the link of the description of this video, as well as show it. I'll show it after this after we finish this talk. This is the one talk that we're doing today. The untethered self. You are the same person as the little kid that you were, not knowing how to potty train, or not knowing where to poop. You were still watching. You were still that person in there. You were the same person when I loved, rock music or metal music or whatever you want to call it. It was like, I don't remember what, screamo, and I had my hair, and you know what I mean? That was me. That was definitely me at one point. I was there. I was watching. But that doesn't have to be me. It's not me now, obviously, right? So and this is how they would say, there's one self that's behind watching this whole time. I'm here now. I'm watching my thoughts. I'm watching this body. I'm watching all this stuff go on. And you're always evolving. You're always there watching. But to say that you are limited to this, you're limited to these past experiences to be who you are. Like, you don't have to let these things define you. You know what I mean? My emo phase is obviously done. Like, I still like some of the music, but it doesn't define me for the rest of my life. It wasn't like, oh, this is what this experience. Going to jail. Maybe you guys can go look me up later, whatever. Going to jail changed my life. Did not define my life. Perfect example.
As you can get into your conscious attention, which is precious little, your image of yourself contains no information about how you structure your nervous system. It contains no information about your blood chemistry. It contains almost no information about the subtle influences of society upon your behavior. It does not include the basic assumptions of your culture, which are all taken for granted and unconscious. And you can't find them out unless you study other cultures to see how their basic assumptions differ.
Crazy, right? Crazy, super crazy. Eastern to Western cultures. And just even subcultures. of Eastern and Western cultures, you would never know that like the thoughts that you have are like so bizarre to somebody else. You know what I mean? Because you're a product of like the Western culture. And then you start looking into Eastern culture and you're like, oh, that's interesting. Why do you guys think like that? Oh, I guess maybe I've had a thought like that in a weird way. Huh. And then all of a sudden you're diving into other stuff. And that's the normal for them. And they think, wow, Americans are so weird. Or, you know what I mean? Western culture is so weird.
All kinds of illusions that you're completely unaware of, as, for example, that time is real and that there is such a thing as a past, which is pure hokum. But nevertheless,
Yeah,
all
that's
these things...
something to sit on. That's something to sit on. Is the past even real? It's the past. It came and went. Is it real, though? Or is it just a thing that's in your mind as a memory?
Are unconscious in us, and they are not included in our image of ourselves, nor, of course, included in our image of ourselves is there any information about our inseparable relationships with the whole natural universe. So this is a very impoverished image. When you ask a person, what did you do yesterday? They'll give you a historical account of a certain number of events in which they participated and a certain number of things which they saw, used, or were clobbered by. But realize at once that this history leaves out most of what happened. I, in trying to describe what happens to me this evening, will never be able to describe it, because there are so many people here that if I were to talk about everyone whom I've seen, what they were wearing, what color their hair was, what sort of expressions they had on their faces, I would have to talk till doomsday.
And things would be constantly changing, so you couldn't actually
instead
talk
of this rich physical experience, which is very rich indeed, I have to attenuate it in memory and description to saying, oh, I met a lot of people in Philadelphia. And there were men and there were women, and lots of them were young and some of them were old. You know, it's the most utterly impoverished account of what went on. So therefore, in thinking of ourselves in this way, what I did yesterday, what I did the day before, in terms of this stringy, mangy account, all I have is a caricature of myself. And you know the caricaturist doesn't draw you all in. He just puts certain salient features whereby people will recognize you. It's not a skeleton. So we are, as it were, conceiving ourselves as a bunch of skeletons. And they got no flesh on them, just a bunch of bones. And no wonder we all feel inadequate. We're all looking for something, to the future, to bring us the goodie. We know we ought to have, there's a golden goodie at the end of the line somewhere. There's a good time coming, be it ever so far away, that one far-off divine event to which all creation moves. We hope.
We hope.
And therefore we say of something that's no good, it has no future. I would say it has no present. But everybody says it has no future.
Well.
Now, here we are, as it were, psychically starved.
Absolutely, Sammy. Absolutely. We missed life and the ups we're going through. And the ups and downs we're going through now while we're looking for the goodie. Yeah, absolutely. So, one of these things I was just reading about, one of the next books I'm gonna start reading. I'm gonna probably read it for a while, but is the Tao Sun or Tao Su, I think it's. God damn it. Tao. Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching. Sorry, there we go. And it talks about being in this one path. It's being the line or the flow, right? And swinging from one side to the other of this the flow. It's part of it. You have to witness it, but if you're Oh, see, no, see, I don't know. Maybe no. You miss it, yeah. Oh, yeah. You're missing the ups and downs. I think definitely. You're missing all the stuff. If you're so focused on what's way ahead or what's ahead of you, you're not being present. You're not seeing what's in front of you, for sure. I totally agree.
And always, therefore, looking, seeking. And this confused seeking is going on everywhere. We don't know what we want. Nobody knows what they want. We say, yes, we think of what we want in vague terms. Pleasure, money, wealth, love, fulfillment, personal development. But we don't know what we mean by all that. If a person really sits down to figure out, write a long essay, 20 pages, on your idea of heaven, it'll be a sorry production.
Yeah.
You can see it already in medieval art, whether it is depictions of heaven and hell. Hell is always much better than heaven. Although it's uncomfortable, it's a sadomasochistic orgy.
Right.
Wow, hell is really rip-roaring.
It's fucking crazy. It's always like, wow, that you
heaven,
fucking know it's hell for sure. You're like, heaven, you're like, oh, that's, I guess that could be nice. It's not bad. It's definitely not fucking hell. So I'll take it, right? You're like, heaven's like, it's way dope in comparison. But, yeah, some gates. I mean, you expect to see gates, maybe, right? I don't know. Do you expect to see gates when you go to heaven? Maybe. I don't fucking know. But also, like, I'll take probably the gates. Fucking gates, whatever color they are. I'll take them in the fiery hell and fucking whips and say a sadomasochist or whatever, whips and chains. Like, you see fucking Hitler tied up with a fucking with a fucking choke collar. Fucking the devil from South Park. Hey, what's up, guys?
Sitting. Very, very smug and demure, like they were in church. And you see also the multitudes of the saved. Instead of this writhing, wormy thing, you can see all their heads, which the artist has drawn to abbreviate them, just the tops of their heads in masses. They look like cobblestone street. Flattened out. So what has happened then is this, that our eye is an illusion. It's an image. And it is no more ourself than an idol is the Godhead. But we say, it can't be so because I feel I really exist. It isn't just an idea in my head, it's a feeling. I feel me. Well, what is it that you feel when you feel I?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So add that. Oh man, yeah, that was a good talk. It was a really good talk. What did we learn? So when we use the word I, what does it mean? I mean, we discussed a lot. We discussed about how self is there and Purusha and Prakriti. And talked about that. That was pretty cool. I like that conversation. I mean, I would love to dive into that more. Definitely something, like I said, I've been learning more in yoga, but just having that sense of like self and, knowing what's behind the body, the physical body. It's absolutely, it's super weird, but it's super interesting. I love it. This is what I've been doing for the past probably 6, 7, 8 months or so. Really starting more to analyze this stuff. And this is, like I said, like I feel like probably the direction of the channel. It's definitely on Twitch. This is what I'm going to be doing, as well as like a little bit of gaming and stuff. But this is what I want to do. This is really cool. I really love this. It was 26 minutes of actual Alan Watts talks, but an hour and 20 I think is what we're on stream right now. So, but it's awesome to analyze this stuff. We live in a scanning system. I mean, scanning lines, and like all these other, the universe is acting in so many different ways that we can't even scan. There's too many lines. You know what I mean? The lines are there, but we don't. You know what I mean? We can't scan all these lines that are acting, and we can't scan the things the universe are telling us that aren't in lines. It's too quick. It's too quick. You're not the puppet of your environment. Your environment's not the puppet of you. It goes back to Purusha and Prakriti. They exist together. You cannot. You did not come into this world. You know what I mean? You didn't come in. You were a product of the world. You were a product of your mother and your father creating you. The world, the environment created you. You live in the environment. You are the environment, but you are also you. You're one in itself. Everything is balanced. And then we also talked about, knowing about if the past is real or if it's just your imagination. Is it something that you can bring back to being real, because it is something that you can remember, so you bring it back to being real, maybe? I think we had a great talk. I think it was great. I had a great time listening. Really sweet. Really good stuff. What's up, Daniel? Dude, welcome in. I didn't see you in there. I haven't seen you. I don't know how long you've been in here, but we had a great talk, man. I loved the day. We are listening to the works of Alan Watts. That's what we're going to be going over. If you liked any of my talks, give me the thumbs up. Really appreciate any of the support that I get. Leave me a comment. What was your favorite spot? What was your favorite thing he was talking about? What you're most excited for in the coming weeks? If you hated Alan Watts, just tell me. Don't put the thumbs down, because that's kind of shitty. It might affect me in the long run. No, but also hit the bell icon and hit the subscribe button. The bell icon lets you know when I upload videos, like I didn't do this week. I did not upload a video this week. Shame on me. I didn't even upload it on my Mondays. So, but yeah, this one will be up soon. Shame. Thank you again for all kicking it with me.